Texture, won't settle for less. Betcha that you won't forget. Text us, don't call our phone. Help us.
Hey fam, and thanks for joining Conversations with G. I'm your host G, and I'm joined today by two guests. We have Kelly and Latoya who's joining us today so that we can talk about planting seeds. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me in this space.
Thank
Hey,
you.
girl. Hey,
Hey.
Latoya.
Hi, how are you?
Yes.
I'm good.
All right. So Latoya, can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself? So we're talking about planting seeds, right? We're not
hmm
talking about farming. We're not talking about putting those seeds in the ground and watching flowers grow. We're talking about those seeds that we plant, in the people around us, especially
hmm
our children, the younger
hmm
generation, whether it be seeds that are positive or seeds that are negative. And so I know that asked you to join me in this space because you're a mom. So,
Yes.
and I wanted to get your perspective on that. So, if you wanted to sit there and say a little bit about that, about yourself.
Okay. Yes, I am a single mom of two boys, from the DC area, and I've always been a single mom. I've never been married. Only my income has contributed to my household, and it's been a ride.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I can
yeah.
imagine. My God. So, single the entire time, two boys, little
hmm
babies, teenagers, grown men. What are we talking here?
Well, now, yes, they're grown. One is 17, going on 18, and one
Oh,
is
wow.
22, going on 23.
Woo, we got some grown
Oh,
men there. Got some grown men. All right.
Yes.
wow.
And
Yeah.
raise them solo.
Yes.
All right.
With the I will say contributions from family, because both sides of my family are from the DC area, so I've had that pleasure of having them
Well,
here.
that's good. That's good.
hmm
At least you have some type of support along the way.
Yeah, I
So
have
that's good.
I call them my village.
All right, your village. I love that. I love
hmm
that.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
right, and Kelly, I know I had asked you to join us in this space because you're a mom as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, of course, my name is Kelly. I have three beautiful children.
All right.
James, he will be 21 in February.
Woo, 21.
Yes.
Lord.
Deanna, she will be 16 in November.
Woo.
She's a sophomore in high school this year.
Ooh,
Such a great kid.
teenage girl.
Right. And then it's the baby, and we
Uh-huh.
actually call her the baby.
Oh, the
And
baby.
that's Deja. She's 13.
Oh,
She's
wow.
in the eighth grade. Yeah, she's the eighth grade. Her last year in middle school.
Oh my goodness gracious. 21, 16, and 13.
Yep.
21, 16, and
And
13.
13.
Got that for a minute.
And I'm 42.
Oh,
So
there
what's
you
up?
go. There you go. And looking fab, girl. You looking fab.
What's up? Right.
Oh my God. 21, 16, and 13. So we're not talking about babies here. We're talking
Mm,
about a full grown man at 21. And then
yeah.
we have two teenage girls. Look,
Yeah.
you're turning gray for you already, girl.
Mm, 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 mm.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. Well, I have a daughter. I didn't birth her, but she is mine. And
Mhm.
so she's 23. And I have been surrounded by kids my entire life, right? So I have 12 nieces and nephews, six godchildren. I have my daughter, as I mentioned, for the past 8 years now. And I got five grands. My gosh,
Ooh.
five grands, and a couple of my oldest godchildren also had babies. So I have babies that way as well. So I've always been
Wow.
surrounded by kids my entire life since the time I was about 14, going on 15 or what have you. So I feel like I played some role somehow, some way in planting the seeds
hmm
along the way or what have you. So um, and I know it's a struggle. Like I've had,
hmm
my mom. I've seen my mom raise us with both my parents, and I've seen my mom raise us when my parents got divorced, and she did the solo thing with me and the four of us. I saw my sister as somewhat of a single mom. She had someone with her. She was married, but she did a lot of that solo. I saw my brothers, one of them married, one of them with the long term, I guess you could say common law wife, but wife, partner, what have you, for a while. And so I've seen it on both sides of the spectrum with a couple, two parents in a household, as well as a single parent, whether it be a male or a female, raising their children. And so I wanted to get from you, Latoya, in this space. Now, you said you had your village to help you along the way, right? So that's great. But like, as we're talking about planting seeds, those good seeds and those bad seeds, has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like you've planted maybe some bad seeds or some negative seeds, and did you realize it? And then if you did realize it, how did you like overcome that or change that in some way?
Are you speaking like as far as with the kids or with myself?
With the kids.
I wouldn't say it's been any bad seeds planted. It might have been some bad experiences maybe, or some, I think with kids, there are books out there, but there aren't books out there, I guess I should say, because I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. I mean, there are some wrong ways of parenting, but you can I think you're just doing your best and just trying to do what's best for your kids at all times. So I wouldn't say for myself that it's been hard times, but I don't know about any bad seeds being planted in that sense. I mean, I've been lucky to have pretty good boys, and they
That's
definitely,
good.
I kept them, in books and in sports.
That's the way to go. That's the way to
Yeah.
go.
Right. Tire
Keep
them
them
out,
busy.
get their mind fed and
Keep
tire
them
them out.
busy.
Yep, keep them busy. And that's all I know is to keep them busy, and my family kept them busy. And so, they, I'm not saying everything's perfect, but I've definitely been lucky to have them be the way that they are, considering I am doing it on my own.
Right. That is great to hear. My God, I know that I've, figured out that I've planted some negative seeds. Oh, Lord. And not in my daughter, but like definitely in some of my nieces and nephews growing up, especially my sister's oldest or what have you. And so, it was rough. It was rough realizing that, and then trying to correct it, right? Things that we say and we do around kids, they're like sponges. Oh my God, they soak up everything, right? Whether it's good or bad or ugly. And so some of the things that I used to do and say around the little ones that were around me, my nieces and nephews at the time, and as I saw them like get a little older, I'm like, I can't get mad. I said or did whatever in front of them. So of course they're only doing and saying what they saw me do. When I turned to in the last episode I talked about turning to substance abuse, drugs and it was alcohol and weed. When I turned to the alcohol and weed, and they saw me doing that, I can't get surprised if I see them blazing up or drinking or kicking back, X, Y, and Z.
Because they saw you doing it.
On it, but they also now see this different person, right? And so it's like for them, but it took them a while to kind of acknowledge that, right? And then to then make changes in their own lives because of that. Like, so I think about those negative seeds. I think about when I'm yelling at them, when I yelled at them. Kelly, you had mentioned something earlier when we were talking before. You had mentioned about a way that you were raised and it was kind of a negative slide to it, and then you saw yourself like carrying that on.
I saw myself carrying some of the ways that I didn't like what my parents did to me. I saw myself doing it to my kids when I were as far as like discipline and just yelling, like not even asking questions, talking at them instead of to them, giving them a chance to even express how they felt or how they feel. I never was able to express how I feel when something was wrong. Like I never felt like I could say, hey, I'm not having a good day because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I didn't get that. My dad, he lost his parents at like a very young age. So when he was raising my brother and myself, he will talk at us, and I didn't know what that meant till I got older. So he will always yell at us instead of talking to us. So when I was raising Jay and Deanna, at the beginning of raising Jay, at the beginning of raising Deanna,
right,
I would yell at them because that's all I knew.
Right.
So that was a seed that I was planting, and I didn't realize that until I got started finding out God for myself, started building a relationship with God, started going to church, started getting into things in church with ministry and stuff like that, starting to pray with my husband, talk to my husband about certain things and stuff like that. I did not know about, none of that stuff.
Right, right.
And then once you start to realize about the bad seeds that you planted your kids, I had to go back and repent and start speaking life over those seeds that had already planted.
Right.
So I had to start saying, no, you are loved. No, you are great. No, you can do all things through Christ. My kids have been knowing that scripture. That's not the only scripture there, but that's our house scripture.
That is one of my favorite scriptures.
That's our house. That's our house foundation scripture.
I love it.
We can do all things through Christ. So every time something go down, to this day, my kids, 21, 16, 13, I can say, no, what's wrong? Oh, no, I can do all. And they, no matter what's wrong with them, I can say no, because you can do all. And then they'll come out and say things through Christ. That's something that my niece, I have partly raised my niece too. My brother passed away. She's 16. She'll be 16 too. Right. So, and she knows the same thing.
Yeah.
No, I can do all things. So I had to go back and replant those seeds, certain seeds, and re-water the seeds.
Right. Now, was that hard? How did your kids take that? Were they kind of like, what's going on here? Or did they just easily flow into the new way of you coming to them with stuff and planting these new seeds and nourishing them in a positive way?
Well, my oldest son, he was always to the church, understood about that stuff. So he understood. He was like, Mom, we all make mistakes. I forgive you. It was all like, and my daughter at the time, she was just like, she didn't understand, but her thing was, I didn't like her.
Oh.
Because I would yell at her instead of talking to her. I was like, what makes you think I didn't like you?
Right, right.
Because when I found out about the seeds that I was planting, I already had Deja. So I was practicing my new seed planting with Deja. And that started it with her. So she looking at like, oh, now you wanna. And it wasn't that.
Yeah,
It wasn't that. It's just that I just did not know.
Right, right.
What I was saying, what I was doing.
Right. So a little harder with not so hard with your oldest son because he already had the foundation.
Yeah,
he knew.
He's so lax. I be so in my feelings. I'll be like,
the child is just kind of laid back and like, all right.
Like,
yeah. And it will be the girls that give us a hard time, right?
Give me a run for my money every single time.
Exactly. So with your second daughter who's 16 now, it was a little harder for her because you said she saw it as you not liking her. So I'm assuming she came out and said that to you, right?
Yeah.
And like, what was your reaction to that? I'm sure, like, as a mom, you're like, did that kind of help you to be like, when she's like, what am I doing here?
When she said it to me, I was like, am I a bad mom? Like, I work, I take care of her, I make sure she looks good from head to toe. Like, she's never lacking anything. Like, why do she think I don't like her? Like, what? So that was going through my mind. But while she's still just expressing how she's feeling, by this time she was like 8, 9, and I was like, and I didn't want to accept the fact that she had feelings and emotions at that time.
Yeah.
And when she was telling me how she was feeling, I was like brushing it off because I'm the mom.
Right.
And I know what's right. And I know I'm doing this right. I'm putting on my big girl cape. But no, I was hurting my child because I wasn't listening to what she was saying to me.
Right.
But in the midst of all of that, I'm still practicing the same love and the same respect on the little one.
Right.
Because because I was like, I don't want to go backwards. I'm trying to, to go forward. But she's making it so hard for me to go forward because she's like, no, I remember when you said, like, it was like,
yeah.
And I'm like,
with the head
I didn't know.
And stuff. Yeah.
So one day I had a long talk with my husband's grandmother. Oh, she's the best. Old school.
Right.
She said some
words of wisdom.
She said some words and wisdom to me. And I was like, And I went back. I had to go back again. And when I went back that time, she received it.
Good. Isn't that?
Yeah. And so, and from that, Deonce, we're like 2 pieces. That girl's something else. But I know, even sometimes I still make mistakes when they teenage. They do little stuff. I'd be like, and I'd be like, okay, no. No, I gotta be like,
right.
Okay. Especially when it comes to the boys and the other stuff. I'd be like,
oh my goodness, don't I know it?
Okay, I gotta kind of be like, okay, well, I have to put on my little my corporate America voice. Why do I gotta put on my corporate America voice so they won't see that mommy is really flipping out on the inside?
Right.
And then I feel like when I went back and had to apologize and really I feel like, hold on, I'm not no punk. I'm not gonna keep going back to a child. Like, but that was all the enemy. So I won't. Excuse me. So I won't correct it.
Right.
It was all the enemy. He did not want me to correct what he thought he had destroyed.
Right. Exactly. Look at that. And you peeped game. You peeped it.
Yeah, I had quick.
Yeah.
Because if I was never been obedient, it would have been our relationship with all my kids. Probably would have been.
Yeah. And the enemy would have won. He would have destroyed the family. That would have been it. Yeah.
I would say, to piggyback off of what you were saying, is that I'm the opposite of that, of what you went through, meaning that I grew up in a negative household. So I made a point to not be that way with my kids. And I think that's why for me, I'm not one of those moms like, oh, you gotta get out of the house at 18. I'm not that mom, because that was kind of almost done to me. And I don't feel 18 is, I don't think 18 is a good age for anyone to be out on their own. Some people in their 50s can be on their own. So.
No, we're not doing that.
I think it all boils down into the maturity level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have I think a little bit differently in that sense. I don't know. I was the way we were, my mom in the beginning, of course, 2-parent household, okay, mom and dad. And then when my parents divorced, my mom had to raise us solo. My mom, love her dearly, strong woman. She's immigrated from the Philippines, had to learn a whole new language, had to learn a whole new culture and everything like that or whatever, and raised four of her kids, 4 of us. It was 4 of us, 2 girls, 2 boys, in a rough part of town, solo, without the help of my father's side of the family, even though my father's side of the family all lived here in the area. And so, like, looking at some of the things that my mom had went through and in raising us, and we put her, oh Lord Jesus, so sorry, Mama, we put her through some stuff, right? And I get it to a point, like my mom showed that kind of tough love, right? Almost to the point of tough love, but unconditional, like that firm but fair kind of thing, right? So if we came out of pocket and was like, hey, I'm grown, I'm da-da-da-da, you grown, go ahead and roll then. I ain't taking care of no grown kids. And I think that to a certain degree, that's kind of like my mindset went, right? And although I haven't birthed any kids, I've been around my nieces and nephews since the time I was like 15 years old. And I've done my fair share of assisting to raise, where they've come and stay with me or whatever, the whole family, whatever, you know, where I step in here and there, and Aunt G got to go do some things, what have you. But if I hear the words, you know, I'm grown, and that talking back, that talking back I can't deal with. I mean, it's a different type of thing. Like, we didn't do that during around, you know, our generation, but this younger generation, that talking back I don't do, right? You talk like you say you grown, okay, well, show the world, go ahead and out there and let's see how you do. You know what I mean?
Because, you know, when we were being raised, what our parents cook is what we're going to eat.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Saturday mornings, we were up doing our chores and, you know, getting ready for the day with family and stuff like that. Sunday was church and, you know, ironing our clothes for the whole week. So we won't have to iron our clothes during the week to try to figure out what we were into school. They just don't have no structure nowadays. And that's another thing with planting seeds. That's also got stuff to do with it too.
Right. I like that, the no structure, and realizing that it is the planting of the seeds. Right. So, you know, my husband and I often have conversations, right? And so one of the things that we do talk about is like the younger generations. And so in thinking about that, we're just like, you know, when you see a lot of the kids nowadays, as you mentioned, you can tell there's no structure with some of the things, like how you mentioned, where, you know, we have a set schedule. There was no talking back. It was whatever our parents told us to do. That was it. That was the law, basically. There was you had no choice. You had no opinions. You had no privacy. You had none of that, right? And then nowadays, it's like the kids just expect it. You all in my privacy. You know, I don't want to eat this. And it will get mad at you. And, you know, I'm just like, well, what happened? Where's the disconnect, you know? And did that really fall on us, right? As in our generation, for those younger kids. And if that's the case, let's talk about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why in the world did we allow this to happen? Or do you think it's also part of what's out there now? You know, like times, like you mentioned, times are different. You know, everything is easy access, right? Social media in your face, you know, TV, you know, they're desensitized, right? Because everything is just right there. And so I think that some of that comes from that. But at the end of the day, that grooming, that foundation, all of that seed planting does start at home. But that's just my opinion, you know?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like society made it hard for us to raise our kids. So, as you know, like when we were growing up, our grandmothers planted a seed already in their kids and their kids. Then their kids knew about the seed that was planted because they talked about it. Grandma had them in church. So, which means our parents planted a seed in us. We planted a seed in our children with the seeds that we knew how to plant from with our mom and our grandparents.
Right. You know, my husband and I, we often have conversations and, you know, and I get it. We're always not going to agree on everything, you know, based on our background, how we're raised and everything like that. And I can definitely hear and see that in the way that we talk about things, him coming from a 2-parent household who knows God, who knows the Lord and everything. And it is really in their foundation to someone like me who comes from a broken / home because my parents are divorced, who didn't really have that foundation of God and Bible study and the church and everything like that or whatever, right? And just doing it on the whim of whatever the environment we were in, but still trying to keep some type of connection together, at least with the nucleus, which is my mom and the 4 of us. And listening to some of his viewpoints on stuff, I'm like, I don't know about, you know, you saying that, you know. He mentions a lot about like single parents, single mothers, and how at times, you know, we hear all the time, you know, single mothers can be, you know, they plant these negative seeds in their kids at times. You know, like, you know, if they may take out on their children if they're bitter. So if the woman is bitter, right,
against the other parent,
and you know they take out their anger and bitterness on the child because the child may look like their father, or you know, remind them of the situation and stuff like that. And I gotta interject, and I'm like, that's not everybody. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's not everybody. You know what I mean? Like I refuse to believe that that's even 50%. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe that is the norm. I believe it's the other way around, where it's more so single moms holding it down, planting those good seeds. And then you may have a few that do that, but it's because they may have those negative seeds that are still planted in them that they haven't gotten around to like weeding it out, you know what I'm saying? And showing love to themselves, so
right. So I will honestly say, for me, I feel like you could have a 2-parent home, doesn't mean both parents are great.
Bingo. That's what I said.
I've dealt with that too. My mother got married to my stepfather. He was an alcoholic and he was abusive. So it was a man that I was around, but not the right man to be a father figure towards me. So I hear all the time, oh, boys need a man in their life. Yeah, they do. It doesn't mean that that's their father.
Right. Amen.
It could be a role model. It could be a coach. It could be a teacher. It could be a mentor.
Right.
And the same with a mother. There are mothers who were not great moms.
Right.
There are parents. I think we really felt it during the pandemic. There were kids on Zoom and their parents arguing in the background.
Right.
While they're on the Zoom with their class.
Right.
And that's mother and father in the household.
Right. Exactly. So
in my household, there was no. I made sure my kids were at peace while they were doing their work. I can never say I'm a woman that can raise a boy into a man, but I can raise a child.
There you go.
I can raise my child, but them being a man, there are some men that I don't want my kids around that are in my family.
Right.
And there are some men that I would prefer that they are around within my family. So I always take it upon myself to say, okay, who you hanging around? What you doing? Where you going? What time you gonna be? What time you gonna be in? Who this? Like, I ask questions. Even to this, my son is about 23 years old. I still, where'd y'all go? How was it? Who was with you?
Right.
Who drove? They got their license. Who drank? Was the person drinking that was driving?
Right.
I ask all those questions because if you don't ask, if you stop asking, they're gonna stop thinking you don't care, so they're gonna stop caring. And that can come from two parents, one parent. That can come from two parents. That can come from one parent. That can come from an auntie. That can come from an uncle. That's why I always say it takes a village, because you might not get what you need in your household,
right?
In your home, you might get it from a family like your auntie Gwen. They might can learn something you did not learn it from their parents, and they might take more to that value. I had an aunt. She passed away in her 40s, but she was my heart, and she would take my son and go about. I want to see my son for 3 days. I'm like, where's my child?
Right.
She was that auntie, just took all the kids and they would go have a good time. And I grew up being a kid. We grew up, going to the beach, family reunions, cookouts, getting crabs, and going to the park. Right. And I made sure my kids experienced the same thing without. No matter what was going on outside, we always try to go to the family events. We always try to let them see that's your uncle, that's your cousin, so they could see there were other men around, even if it wasn't their father. They could see other men around that they could look up to, or even talk to, or get to know. So that's why I say family doesn't have to be just a mother and father. It could be whomever is a good influence to your child.
Yes, indeed. I love that.
I say there's no good book on how, because you don't know what experiences you're going to face, or what life you're going to face with your child.
Right.
So you're going to express, you're going to take action the way you feel you should take action towards that child, especially if you love that child, you care about that child. You're going to take action the way you see fit, and then later on you're going to kind of be like, okay, wait a minute, I shouldn't have did it like that. But you learn from your mistakes. The thing that a lot of people don't do is you own up to what you did wrong. Parents do not own up to what they do wrong. They feel like, well, you heard what I said and that's it.
Right.
Ain't nothing else going to change about that. And that goes back to Kelly saying kids do have feelings, because even with my oldest, he was going through some things, and we had to, he felt like he felt like he wasn't being heard, or he felt like, no one really cared about what he wants to do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Now that my son is older, he's working, and he's trying to make life decisions. I always say you go through the stages with your kids. Whether it's a stage of they doing something wrong, they doing something great, they doing something good, they might fall back down. You go through those stages with them, and you're learning as a parent with them. Okay, how can we handle this? Do we need to see a therapist? Do we need a counselor? Do you need somebody else to talk to besides me?
Right.
And so I believe in even with kids, what are your goals? That doesn't just have to be work related. It could be with your life.
Right.
For a child, there's no correct age or no certain age where a child doesn't have to have goals, or at
Yeah.
least have dreams that they want to pursue. And I think sometimes though they get knocked down by adults, because adults can be like, boy, you ain't playing no ball, you ain't doing that, like.
Right.
And I always say, okay, you might not make the NFL, but you can play ball.
Right.
But what else you gonna do? What if your knee blows out? What is your plan?
Right. You can put that
So
reality back into play.
right.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why I always feel like we don't have to always talk down to kids. We can talk to them. We don't always have to talk at them. We can talk with them.
Right.
But that's at a certain age. You're not. I'm not talking to you, and you 12, and I'm 30. We're not having the same conversation.
Okay.
The conversation is, you're 12, and
Right.
you're in this household at 12 years old.
Right.
Go get in the shower. Go get in bed.
Right.
Eat your dinner. Shower, bed. That was my routine. Homework, shower, bed. There's no. But as they get older, they start having a little mind. Okay, you can have your thoughts. You can have you can change your mind on things, but make it make sense.
Right.
You're not going out here just doing anything. Make it make sense.
Right.
And when you F up and do something, it falls. I told my son, I said, you F up and do something, it falls back on you, and it's a reflection of me. Of how you should not be and how I have raised you to be.
Like, to some degree, there are some people, not just kids, but some people have to learn the hard way. Don't want it for them. Don't wish anything hard on anybody, let alone kids that you love, that you sit there, that you encourage, that you guide, that you want to see good. But, to some point, I'm like, isn't there some point when you just got to like, all right, well, go ahead, flap your wings and try and see what it's, not saying that you're just going to turn your back, but go ahead and try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I would say if this was maybe 20 years ago, maybe. But considering the state of the economy now, considering the state of what people are going through, just holding down a job or just trying to survive, I just feel like you're better in numbers sometimes. A household where more people can work and put into the household kind of helps you not struggle as hard, compared to putting your child out there to survive on their own, and they still come back home later on because they couldn't keep. Yeah, they come back home anyway. I see a lot of kids who they come back home after college. They can't get a job.
Yeah.
They can't hold a job because they don't have the experience.
Because because when they went to school and college for their major, they can't get higher in their major.
Yep. Right. And so it's hard to live off of a minimum entry level salary.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I get that. But then how do you sit there and deal with I'm grown, I can do what I want to do?
Well, my kids don't.
Thank God.
My son never came out his mouth and said, "Oh, I'm grown. I can do what I want to do." I think when he turned 20, he's actually going to turn 21 in February. Right. But when he's 20. So I think by the beginning of the year, he wanted to do something, and I said, "Oh," and I'm in my mind, I was like, "Why is he asking me? Can he
Right.
Like go somewhere or go somewhere or something. I said, Jay, why are you asking me that? You know you could go, but you just know what time you got to come home. Right. So he said, Mom, I ain't trying to be, he said it just like this. He said, I ain't trying, be disrespectful, but I'm about to be 21. I said, I know. And I said, I know. I said, but your skin complexion, they don't play fair outside. So you're going to have your behind in this house, 1 o'clock.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. So y'all then have been blessed with kids that don't do a lot of that. Now, I got some rough ones in my family. Ooh, Lord. I got some rough ones in my family.
We all have rough ones.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no child that's an angel. There's no child that's an angel.
About my face, like I'm gonna straight fight you. I'm gonna get out my face. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like take it to that and then some. Right? That and then some. Like literally in your face, about to go to blows.
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm gonna cut you off. You said family, or you just know people have done that?
Family.
Family.
Like, you know what I'm talking about, like family. We're talking about the kids, okay? The family. When I say we had some rough ones in my family, I'm talking about my niece's nephews. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them are some rough ones. And that's what I'm saying. Like, so to some degree, like I'm like, y'all have been blessed. Like y'all have totally been blessed because I'm like,
do you know I'm still scared of, I don't play with Donna. I'm 42. I don't play with Donna.
Let me tell you.
I don't play that. I don't play that.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. Like I don't get down like that. No, I'm not. I can't. Right. And so like my stepping in as auntie, as Aunt G stepping in or whatever, I'm bringing that firmness. I'm bringing that or what have you. And no, I'm not having none of that. I'm not having no back talk. I'm damn sure enough ain't having nobody swinging on me, especially on no daggone child. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely not doing this. I'm grown, whatever. But as I'm sitting here thinking about it and talking about it, I'm like, that had to have been the way that these children were acting at that particular time. Thank God they don't act like that now. Oh, Lord Jesus. There has been some growing. But those times from the time when they turned like 13 on up, it's like, it didn't happen overnight. It took some years. You know what I'm saying?
Tap me in. Tap me in.
Yeah. Tap you in.
Okay. So this goes back to what I said about society makes it hard, especially for colored women, to raise our boys.
Yep. Yes. Oh yes, definitely the boys.
Yes. Not only just our kids, our boys. Because if we whip them or hit them, that's child abuse. If they sit there crying and stuff, he's a punk. He need to get his together. Why you got your son over there crying, act like a little old? But then you come to the school or you disciplining your child because you called me and said my child been disrespectful. Now I'm disciplining my child. Then you want to call the police and have people come to my house because I disciplined my child after he done disrespected you. And you want me to go to jail because I disciplined my child that God put me in charge of to raise.
Right.
Somebody make it sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And I definitely I've yelled at my kids before at the school, outside of school, at home, outside of home. And I always say, do you need me to dial CPS for you, or do you need me to dial 911 for you? Because we can make that arrangement.
Oh my God! Look, let me.
I will call them for you.
I've heard you are not my mother. I've heard that before, and I'm like,
I'm gonna get my mother up here, or I'm gonna call my mother and tell my mother.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, like I said,
do what you gotta do.
Who have their kids around me know that once your kids are with me and they are around me, then you give me all the rights to discipline in your stead, right?
I'm an educator. I work in PGCPS public schools.
Wow.
I see it every single day. I see it, and you could tell the seeds that the parents are planting in the kids that I work with.
Right.
At one point, I couldn't understand it, so I was coming in on 10 with them.
Right.
Because I felt though once I come in at 10, they're gonna be like, oh, Miss Jenkins not gonna play, or Mrs. Jenkins don't play, or Miss Jenkins this, or Miss Jenkins go hard. I wanted to establish that respect. which I did. But then once I realized that they really are not what you think they are, I had to reverse that, think again, Gwen, and start speaking life over them. And they always keep saying, why you always just so sweet? Why you always got to say, have a blessed day and purpose? Because I want y'all to know that y'all are somebody. I love you.
Right.
Y'all going to be great young men, especially the young boys up there. I'm always pouring into their spirit. I'm always letting them how great they're going to be. I always know that they're telling them they're beautiful. I always tell them they're going to be either football, wrestler, or something. I'm always saying something. Even the ones that are going to be like, D, I'm a F you, I'm about to get my mother. I'll be like, okay, till I say, what's up?
Right. Yeah. See,
it's
now
okay.
I can get there. I am that way now. Believe you me, I have the way that I was helping raise my nieces and nephews when they was wilding out like they were is nowhere like how I am at the later part of their years when they started settling down. And I'm hoping that some of them being able to turn things around was the way that I changed how I was sitting there coming to them, reacting to them, speaking to them, encouraging them. So I changed the way that I was planting those seeds in them. You know what I mean? So that they wouldn't, especially the ones who have kids now. Because I didn't want them to get into, like, now they're parents and to then be able to sit there and take that negative stuff that I planted in them, or help to plant that negative or water that negative seed and then take it on. So, but it didn't come right off the bat. You know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from with that when you mentioned earlier about the being talked at because you're the child, you're going to do as I say, versus realizing that child, although a child, has feelings.
Yeah, girl had my, you know her. I remember the saying they say, "Oh, you gotta put your big girl drawers on." Girl, I put them big girl drawers on. I was like, hold up, like I was like, you ain't gonna sign me. This my, like, that's how I felt. Like I was like, oh no, this, because that's how. That's how my mom carried it around the house. Her mother like, this my Jew joint. That's how she said, you ain't gonna be in this joint acting, So I felt like, nah, this my, like, I was my mom, this my shit. Who you talking to? But that shit destroyed me on the inside. Deep down inside. It destroyed me. So I had to build up my own courage and say to myself, I had to talk to myself. Didn't even know that I was planting OCs in myself at a young age. I had to tell myself, I know I'm skinny, but I'm bad. Yeah, I know I got long hair, but I'm still, like I just had to just build myself up. It's to the point where it got so bad. Now it's like, oh, she's the center of attention. No, I'm not. I'm just not going to let you talk down to me because I am a person.
Right.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And then back then we didn't know that life or death, is a power of your tongue. We didn't know that. We didn't know you speak life or you could speak death over situations. We didn't know that.
Right.
So for these being our babies, we have to continually every day to speak life over their situation, regardless of what it is. Oh, I can't do this today. Yes, you can, because what I say at the beginning, Gwen, because you could do all things.
Philippians 4:13.
Right. Okay. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. No, you will bless the Lord at all times. Like no, even though I'm. It's crazy. We can sit up here on this podcast and say, all this and that, but baby, I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't for his grace, I would have never have known, just to turn it around.
Right.
If I didn't just take heed to what this elder had told me about, read me my rights. My husband's grandmother read me my rights out of love. And everything she told me came to fruition. I'm telling you, everything she told me. She said, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, this is going to happen. In my mind, I was like, I'm a newlywed. We 15 years in now, baby. What? But at that time, I was a newlywed.
Yeah.
Who you talking to? You can't tell. Once again, Gwen thinking I'm the. Who you talking to? You can't tell me I got this. No, I didn't, baby. I was destroying. I was helping the enemy destroy it.
Right.
So, Bob saw her episode 2. I was going through something so bad that day. I said, Gwen was just so open and just so honest and so just just so vulnerable that they just made me forget about what I had going on. Like I forgot about whatever I was going through, or forget about whatever I didn't do and beat myself up about something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know what? I got to speak life over me. So I still got to speak life over my situation.
Oh, definitely. Always.
Yeah.
Every day.
Always. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a continuous thing. So.
And
I always said one day I was gonna be the single parent to help other single parents to you might be struggling, but it's going to get better for you.
Yeah.
It can get better for you, but it's the point of if you're going to give up or not. If you give up, it's not going to get better for you.
Right.
If you just, give defeat, be like, I'm done with this, no matter how many kids you got, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. If you just give up, it's not going to get any better. Your kids going to see it, you're going to feel it, and it doesn't get better. That's why I always say, it's good to have aunties and uncles and cousins who are there and grandparents who can help out with with moms or dads who are in the position of taking care of the kids of their own.
What can I sit there and contribute in this space? In this space as on this particular topic of planting seeds. Like, I mean, I have a daughter, but I didn't birth her. There's 15 years of her life we had before me that where seeds were planted, you know what I mean? So I had the last 8 where I was able to contribute some seeds. But then I thought about it in a sense of, oh, I know I planted seeds, negative and positive ones. Thank God I realized it and was able to change it. But in a lot of the kids that I was around, like I said, I'm surrounded by kids and have been surrounded by kids since the age of 15. And so so I'm happy that I was able to bring some of, that to this conversation. But I definitely learned from y'all too in this space, because I'm just like, you heard me earlier talk about like, nah, I can't, when you said, kids are not, even when you hit 18, they're not mature. We know they're not mature.
Right. Right.
They're not mature. Even when they 25, some when they 30, whatever. Sometimes it takes, we all mature at different ages. Maturity is not an age. Maturity is, the mindset. And so, and we mature at different, at different rates. And so it may not be 18 for someone. It may be 18 for somebody. It may be 20. It may be 25. It may, may even be longer. So for me, I was always stuck in that. Oh no, I cannot deal with anybody trying to tell me they're grown. Can't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. You want to be grown? You get on about it. Here with that, I'm not taking you grown. I'm not taking care of no grown people.
I don't deal with
that. You know what I mean? And so, but like thinking of it in the sense of like how y'all were saying, but if we were to put the child out at the age of 18 or 21 or 23 or whatever, and knowing that they're not mature, then we're helping to set them up for life to jack them up. And is that what I really want for my daughter or, my nieces and nephews or my godchildren or my grands? You know what I'm saying? No, that's not what I want.
No.
I don't want that. I want them to succeed. I want to continue to encourage them. But it's just about that. How do you sit there and get to the point of not taking all that smart mouth and all that back talk and all this and that, whatever, without taking it to that extreme? Like, how do you deal with that, without taking it to that extreme? Maybe that's something we could talk about as we continue on in this space, because I tell you, that was an area that I struggled with, like I said, until now it was a different kind of situation going on, but it wasn't until I had that situation where I lost it on my niece when I found out she was doing some adult things.
Right.
That it changed in me. And I was like, okay, I got to stop coming at them this way. But there's got to be a way. I mean,
there's a way.
Texture, won't settle for less. Betcha that you won't forget, that you won't forget. Text us, don't call our phone, don't call our phone. Help us.